The storm raged outside St. Mary's Hospital in Phoenix, Arizona, drenching the city in relentless sheets of rain. Thunder rumbled in the distance, shaking the ground as lightning flashed through the darkened sky. Inside, Nurse Elia Carter struggled to keep her eyes open, the exhaustion of a long night shift settling deep in her bones. She sipped at her lukewarm coffee, hoping the caffeine would help, when the automatic door slid open with a soft chime. Elia turned her head, expecting to see an emergency patient or a frantic relative. Instead, her breath hitched. Standing in the doorway, its golden mane soaked and glistening, was a lion. But it wasn't just a lion's presence that stole the air from the room. It was what the creature carried in its powerful jaws. A small wrapped bundle. The entire hospital lobby fell silent. Security guards froze. Doctors and nurses stood in stunned disbelief. The lion stepped forward, claws clicking softly against the polished floor, its amber eyes scanning the room with a knowing intensity. Then, with a gentleness that defied its wild nature, the lion lowered the bundle onto the floor and nudged it toward Elia before sitting back on its haunches. Elia's heart pounded. Every instinct told her be afraid, but something about the lion's demeanor held her still. She stepped forward cautiously, kneeling before the bundle. With trembling hands, she pulled back the damp cloth. A baby. The infant was impossibly small, its lips tinged blue, its chest rising and falling in shallow breaths. The baby was barely clinging to life. Elia, what? Dr. Marcus Green, the hospital's chief physician, had just arrived. His words died on his lips as he took in the scene before him. Elia looked up at him, urgency overriding the surreal nature of the moment. "The baby needs immediate care," she said firmly, already lifting the child into her arms. "Get the neonatal team ready." As the team rushed the baby away, Elia turned back to the lion, but something strange was happening. The creature had stepped back, its gaze lingering on her, almost approvingly. Then, without a sound, it turned and walked back into the storm, vanishing into the downpour. Before Elia could process what had happened, a nurse ran toward her, breathless. "I found this in the blanket," she said, handing Elia a small golden locket. Elia flipped it open with shaking fingers. Inside was a faded photograph of a young woman cradling a newborn, her smile full of warmth. On the back, an inscription, "For Anna, protect him at all costs." Elia's pulse quickened. Who was Anna, and how was the lion connected to all of this? Hours later, as the storm waned, a commotion erupted at the hospital's entrance. Police officers were speaking to a man soaked to the bone, desperation evident in his frantic eyes. Elia rushed forward. "My son," the man choked out. "Please, I need to find my son." He clutched the photograph in his trembling hands. The same image from the locket. Elia's breath caught. "Your son is safe," she assured him. "But how did you know he was here?" The man, David, swallowed hard. "My wife, Anna, always said that if anything ever happened, he would find our son. I didn't believe her." Elia frowned. "Who?" David's voice wavered. "Solomon, the lion. She raised him at a wildlife sanctuary before we met. She always said he was different, that he understood things no other animal could." A shiver ran down Elia's spine. She had seen it with her own eyes. David was led to the neonatal unit, where he broke down at the sight of his son breathing steadily in the incubator. Elia watched from a distance, her heart heavy with awe and unanswered questions. As dawn broke, Elia found herself outside, scanning the hospital surroundings. And there, just beyond the parking lot, standing in the golden morning light, was Solomon. Their eyes met, and for a brief moment, understanding passed between them. Then, with one last glance, the lion turned and disappeared into the trees. Elia clutched the locket in her palm. The world was full of mysteries, but some needed no explanation. Love, loyalty, and fate had found a way that night, and a lion had delivered a miracle. Days passed, and the story of the lion spread like wildfire. News stations ran segments about the mysterious creature that had carried a baby to safety. Scientists speculated, wildlife experts debated, and skeptics dismissed it as a fabricated tale. But those who had witnessed the event knew the truth. David and his son, whom he named Leo in honor of Solomon, remained at the hospital for a few days. Elia often checked in on them, forming a deep bond with the infant and his father. She felt an inexplicable connection, as if fate had drawn them all together for a reason. One evening, as Elia prepared to leave the hospital, David approached her. "I've been thinking," he said hesitantly. "Solomon didn't just bring my son here to save him. He brought him here for a reason. And I think that reason is you." Elia blinked in surprise. "Me?" David nodded. "You were the one he trusted. He didn't just leave my son with anyone. He left him with you. That has to mean something." Elia looked down at the locket in her hand, tracing the engraved words. "For Anna, protect him at all costs." Perhaps, just perhaps, Solomon had known exactly what he was doing. And maybe, just maybe, this was only the beginning of a story far greater than anyone could imagine. A week later, as David and baby Leo were finally discharged, Elia stood by the hospital doors, watching them leave. "You'll keep in touch, won't you?" she asked, her voice softer than usual. David gave her a warm smile. "Always." As they drove away, Elia glanced back at the distant tree line. Somewhere out there, Solomon was watching, protecting, a silent guardian of an unbreakable promise. And in that moment, she knew some bonds, no matter how improbable, could never be broken. What happened next, however, would prove that Solomon's story was far from over.